All right. Back to talking horse racing. Thursday night coming up. Big Saturday. Haskell, Monmouth Park. Can't wait. 2 races to handicap in total from Monmouth Park. So welcome in the boys, Jon Hardoon and Chad Summers. How's it going, guys?
Good.
Everything all right? How was the week, Chad, on the farm?
It rained every day. Finally stopped raining a couple days ago,
Two
but
days ago it stopped.
had a lot of rain and more rain on the forecast. Actually, Top Lecture told me this morning we're I think half an inch away from the rainiest Saratoga since 1876.
What's he
Terrific.
talking about? I remember a few years ago we had rain for 29 straight days.
Nope, not as much as this.
Okay. That's how much we're going to be getting?
That's how much we've got.
Oh, okay.
Anyway,
So,
yeah, nothing was memorable last week, was it?
no, I guess not. Let's go. Next. What are we doing? The Haskell and the. Oh, you wanted to go over viewer mail? Go ahead. Fire away.
Viewer mail. Yes, that's what we're going to do. Viewer mail. JW said Chad is getting professional. No more shows lying down on a couch with a bag of chips with a happy,
Don't worry,
smiley,
that-
laughy face.
The chips will come back as soon as we get back to Belmont.
Oh, see? It's a Saratoga button up tied kind of deal. Meat. Let's see. Victor Freed, I like you guys. Thank you for the information. Victor Freed. Haven't heard from Victor Freed before, I believe. So it might be a new viewer. That's why he likes us, guys. Bluegrass Dan, thanks, guys. Great job as always. In Opva, not sure what that is. In Opva, must be initials. Chad, thanks for what you do on this show. And Bluegrass Dan said, thanks, guys. Great show as always. Gotta love Bluegrass Dan and his positive comments.
He's always positive, that guy.
Yes. So there's your viewer mail from the last few weeks.
There you go. Nothing from Rockface? Come on.
No, well, Rockface has been busy, I believe, on Discord. That's why.
Oh.
Yeah,
I
he's
visited Discord, by the way, and I saw it. I got lost in there, but I'll be back.
yeah, just going over it now. Matter of fact, yeah, here's one from Rockface. Just watched. This was on the 14th, which was last Friday. Just watched the update. I'm assuming that's the show. Glad Chad and Jon mentioned what went on at Belmont last week, and I want to echo Chad and Jon's comments regarding the handicappers, broadcasters that day. I was watching the live stream on the NYRA and couldn't help but feel that the team on the NYRA, Sterling, Kinchin, and Wolfendale alike, had a narrative to cause aspersions, not just on the horse, but also the trainer and connections. It wasn't just an opinion they put across. It was an attack, blah, 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 to coerce the bettors to put a line through the horse. It wasn't just fleeting opinions. It was relentless, and they kept going on and on. If the handicappers / presenters were to act like that in the UK on a horse or barn, they would be getting roasted on social media for how they did their job. Long post, but it angers me so much when I see crap like that.
He happens to be 1,000% right. They're a bunch of idiots, okay? And I'll tell it to their face. They have no class, and they're really jealous, and that's all it is. And we don't care. Like Chad said, let any one of those handicappers come up. They could have all 5 of them come up against us, and we'll take them on.
I mean, I haven't watched them before, but I know how bad, not just handicappers, but overall the media on some of these national shows can be and how uneducated they are. So I can just imagine.
If they don't like you or they have something against you, that's not the place to
No.
vent it, because a person can't defend himself. So it's easier to stand there and bash someone, and for no reason. For no reason.
Yeah.
But listen, Chad stuck it to him by winning by 10 lengths under wraps. So screw them.
That's
Let's
how
go.
you do it.
That's the best way.
All right. So 2 races to go as usual. Haskell, that'll be the big
12th.
prize coming up. But first, by the way, I didn't notice Pratt was in any of these races. Is he in another location?
It's probably in Saratoga.
Okay.
where he's spending the summer.
All right, so before the Haskell, we have race 11, a mile and 3/8 turf race, the Grade 1 United Nations. This is a $600,000 purse for 3-year-olds and up. And I'm not going to start with the morning line favorite. I'm not even going to start with the second choice, but I'm going right to the horse that I have to believe John is all over as well, and that is the 3-horse Catnip. I mean, Catnip's got a heck of a sheet line, doesn't he, John?
He certainly does, and he certainly loves Monmouth. He's 2 for 2 at Monmouth. I guess the distance would be a question of a mile and 3/8, but I don't think he'll have any problems doing it. Chad will fill us in on that, but I do think that he is the winner of the race.
Look, he won the Monmouth Stakes last time out. That was a prep for this race. He's gotten better and better as time has gone on, but this is something along the lines of a class test, right? So yeah, he likes Monmouth, and Joel Rosario got to know him in the last start rides back here. But he was in a 6-horse field last time, and he defeated horses like Never Explained and Speaking Scout, or second, third. They're nowhere near the quality and depth of this field, and this is a prime example. We've talked about this in the past, where the sheets meet the eye. So on the sheets, he's ready to take that next step. He's ready to go into that Grade 1 company that he's facing here. Does he pass the eyeball test? That's to be determined, in my opinion. And I think there are some horses here with back class. There's some horses that have run against tougher company, and maybe they haven't been as successful of late. When obviously it's good to come in with some confidence like Catnip's going to do. But I'm going to prefer a few others in this race. I think it's the right spot and it's the right time to try these horses. Mike Stidham obviously looking to have a big day. He actually brings Proxy into an overnight stake race as well. So looking to have a big day at Monmouth on Saturday, but I'm going to go against Catnip in this spot. I think there's some older, more experienced horses that might just be a little bit better right now.
One of those experienced horses, I remember playing this experienced horse last time, and he finished a disappointing 4th in the Grade 1 Manhattan. But actually, I guess I've just found out today that he ran an 8, which was Red Knight, and he's the favorite of the race, the 5-2 shot at 9 years old. Amazing that this horse is still running as good as this horse is running. The 5-2 shot, John, through 35 starts, has never started a race at Monmouth.
That's true. Well, when you're 9 years old and you run an 8 at the age of 9, unfortunately, that could really be the end of you. Listen, I'm King Catnip, so I guess I could use the 9 underneath because I don't have that many horses to use underneath. But I think he has to react off of the 8, and that's just the way I see it. I don't play I don't play any horse off an 8 top, much less a 9-year-old off an 8 top.
But that being said, John, I mean, you play the races every day. You play the sheets all the time. Obviously, a lot in New York and Florida and places like that. Is Mike Maker's sheet line not a little bit of an anomaly? So when you're looking at things, right? When you're looking at a sheet and you say, okay, first you take the sheet as itself, right? Then, okay, yeah, he's 9, okay. Mike Maker has done this time in and time out, especially with these older turf horses that have back class, and they show up despite what common logic, what you've been taught since your father taught you.
Well, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to change that?
I'm asking you.
I play what took me to the dance.
But have you noticed any exceptions to the rule with a trainer like Mike Maker?
No, because he got this horse to run an 8 last year at Colonial Downs off the layoff, and then he gave him time off and he bounced to the 12.
Okay.
Listen, the horse has time from the 8. Obviously, he could run. It's just a rule that I have. When you run that good as a 9-year-old, chances are you're not going to repeat it. Again,
what do you do with the Mike Maker 8-year-old in therapist who comes in off a pretty good effort last time out at Ellis Park?
Yeah, well, it may have been physically impressive and everything else, but number-wise, it was not a good race. It was a 14, so he has 0 chance. He has a 13 and 14.
0.
It's amazing that he got this horse to run, to win races away from Clement, And Weaver had him, and then Maker
looked
took
like he was finished. When Weaver had him, he looked like he was finished. I mean, Weaver lost him, I think, for $25,000.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. And guess what, Chad? Guess what? He's run the same numbers. He's just been luckier for Maker because he has the same 14s that he ran for Weaver, but he happened to run, much better. So.
Yeah, Therapist, the 6-1 shot, Castellano on board. That's one of 3 horses, by the way, in the field for Maker. It's been a couple of years since Therapist ran some 8s. But, yep, 8 years old, 42nd race coming up for Therapist. And let's go to the second choice, and that is an import that has raced 3 times in Santa Anita since importing from Brazil, and that's Planetario. The number 6, 3-1 shot. We have 3 sheet numbers on the 3 races at Santa Anita. We have the 13 last June, 12 in May, and then 14 just last month in the Grade 3 win. So what about the 3-1 shot Planetario, John?
That was 1 3/4 miles, that race. And Charlie Whittingham used to say that after you run that race, you need like 6 months to recoup from it. So I'm going to listen to Charlie Whittingham. Not only that, he won the race with a bad number. I loved this horse last time when he won at Santa Anita, and he ran a 14-1. That was surprising. He went backwards 2 points and he won. So that's what we call reverse buried. He loses all value by winning the race with a slow number. I like limited liability for second, and I like 3-5 in here. But if the 3's really 4-1, I think he's worth a win bet.
Chad, Planetario.
I mean, I agree with Jonathan on Planetario. The one caveat to it is that Richard Mandela, for years and years and years and years, has had as much success as anyone bringing these Southern American imports in and running well. But they run well in California, and they seem to struggle a little bit outside of California. So I agree with Jonathan on him. When you talk about limited liability, it's amazing. Shug McGahee's 1 for 19 at Monmouth. He doesn't stable there. He just ships a lot. But he has 9 seconds and 5/3. So he's hit the board in 15 out of 19.
His horses are running. He's just been unlucky.
Just needs to get a little lucky. And if you go back and you watch the Louisville stakes that he was in last time at Churchill, the ground wasn't great. This was a little bit before they moved to Ellis Park. It was a good track that day. He seemed like it took a little while to get his footing underneath him, and then he came with a little bit of a run. It wasn't enough, but he was closing ground into him. And obviously, there's nothing wrong with the Hall of Famer John Velasquez. John Velasquez has not ridden a lot for Shug McGahee recently, but when Angel Cordero had
he used to ride
a lot. They used to win a lot of races together. Yeah. I like Johnny taking over the spot here. Nothing against James Graham. I think he's a great jockey. Look forward to having a little bit more of a forward trip. He normally comes from kind of behind. I think he's a little bit better if he can be a little closer to the pace, and I think in this race he can be. And I think that's to his benefit. And, you have to mention the horse that beat him in that Louisville Stakes in foreign relations. Now, he came back in the Charlwood and was awful in the race that the Rapist was second. He's a kind of horse that if there's moisture in the ground, he runs better. With the pending rain coming to New York tomorrow, could reach out to New Jersey. I think that turf course could have a little moisture. If you see before the race the track is listed as anything less than firm, foreign relations at a little bit of a price, I think does step up a little bit, especially a horse you want to play in your exactas and tries. If it's a firm turf course, maybe not as much. He seems to struggle on the firm. But on the turf course that has a little give to it, those are clearly his best 2 races. So I'm gonna just use him and watch the radar and watch the weather forecast for foreign relations. But I'm gonna make limited liability my top selection.
Oh, okay. Limited liability.
Chad's going 5-8, and I'm going 3 with 5-8-9.
Oh, John is pushing the show along fast. What would you say, John?
It's past Chad's bedtime. 3 with 5-8-9.
3 with 5-8-9. And Chad, you're 5 with?
5 with 8.
Cold?
Over? I'm kind of warm.
Okay, go
Limited
ahead.
liability. Ran at 11 in April, a 14 in May. Foreign relations ran 2 12s when he switched over to turf, and then a
I will
14
say
last
this
time
though.
out.
I will say picking him on top and going against 3 Mike Maker horses is very, very difficult because he seems like he wins this race every year.
Long shots. Is there a long shot in the field? What about Yamato as a long
Yeah, I
shot?
mean, Yamato would be the one with Luis Saez, but
Yeah, Yamato has a shot. Yamato definitely. Listen, the truth, the 6, 7, 8, the 4, they all have 12s, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Yamato
3
even has 2 11s.
Yeah, and look at the 4. He's 30-1, the Greg Sacco horse. If you look at, I mean, he's not that far away.
Yeah, the
You
4
know
is
what?
coming off the 12.
I'm changing it to 3 with 5, 7, 8. I'm losing the 9. The hell with that horse at 2-1. I don't want him. I want 3 with 5, 7, 8 exactas. Thank you.
Okay.
3 with 5, 7, 8 it is.
Yeah, the 4s you mentioned, John. 12 last time out. Ran 2 11s early last year, and a 10 in August.
Yeah.
Had a rough stretch since the 10, but came back with the 12 last month. And that horse has run the most out of any horse at Monmouth, 11 starts. So
he also hasn't won a race in 2.5 years.
that is true too.
I mean, his last race is August 2021.
Yeah,
Delaware. I mean,
that's why Yamato looks like the better long shot play. Another maker horse. 14-12 last 2 starts, 11-11 in May and June. Okay, so that's the first one, and doubles are in action with the Haskell. So have fun with that. Who do you think is going to go off as the favorite in race 11?
In race 11?
You think Red Knight will stay the favorite?
Horses. Who?
Red Knight. Do you think he'll stay the favorite?
Probably.
Chad?
Either him or the 6. Either him or the Mandela horse.
So you think the 3 will remain the third choice?
Yes.
Chad, what do you think?
I agree.
Let's talk Haskell. The big one. Is this the biggest race since the Triple Crown?
I guess so.
I mean, you want to talk about a morning line, by the way. Let's talk about the morning lines maker saying, I see your Kentucky Derby winner, and I raised you a Bob Baffert horse who's just run twice. I'll make him the favorite.
Twice in a year, so good luck to him.
Yeah, we've got the Bluegrass winner, the Kentucky Derby winner, and we finally get an opportunity to see Arabian Night, who just happens, as Chad mentioned, to be the morning line favorite. And we've never had him on the show. So first time since January, ran a 10 at Oakland Park and an 8 last year in his first race. Let's just talk about, you've seen him a couple of times, obviously, race, Chad. So what do you like about Arabian Night?
Well, I mean, if you go back to his sales video at the two-year-old sale in April last year, he had the most perfect breeze since Carpe Diem. Carpe Diem ended up being a really nice Grade 1 winner. He was special. He looked the part. He was a man among boys at the sale. The secret was out early on, and then kind of continued through. His breezes were spectacular. Did everything the right way. Had some physical setbacks along the way, but was able to kind of overcome them. And his debut, he was sent off at 3-5 and was as easy a 3-5 winner as you'll ever see. And look, Bob Baffert's done this.
Well, it's Baffert in California. Every first time starting,
sure.
he's out.
Sure. But I mean, he was good that day. They weren't sure where he was going to run next. Obviously, there was a lot of things going on, legally speaking, with Bob Baffert fighting the Triple Crown and wanting to run in the Derby or whatnot. The original plan wasn't to run him in the Southwest. The original plan was to actually keep him home or maybe run him in one of the other prep races. He was training so well that the week of the race, Baffert said, I got to run him. I got to run him. He's doing really well. They pulled an audible that was Pegasus week, and Arabian Night's main groom actually was supposed to be in the Pegasus with the fun that he ended up going to Oakland. It poured down rain that day. It was a sloppy track. I mean, it was ugly. and Arabian Night just made mincemeat of the competition. And
Okay, can I ask you a question? It's
yes.
July 22nd. That race was January 28th. Where the hell has he been?
On the shelf.
Oh, okay.
On the shelf. A lot of times, brilliant horses have trouble staying sound because they put so much into their races. They put so much effort into their races. It doesn't take away from their brilliance. You look at Flightline, and I don't need social media blowing up. I'm not saying Arabian Night is Flightline at this stage, but the time off between races is what it is. You see the 7 furlong drills. You see the 3/4 drill last time in 11, which if you go to XBTV, you can watch some of these workouts live for yourself. He's ready to rock and roll. This is not a prep for the Travers as some of the other horses are using it as. This is a race that he very much wants to win. Obviously, the connections came up short last year, running second with Taiba. This is their goal. They wanted to run on the Preakness. They weren't able to make the Preakness. This became their next immediate goal, and they're here now with every possible shot. They were going to bring 2 horses to the race, and the old adage, why bring 2 if one will do? Arabian Night is the circle in this race.
Not for me.
So this horse was sold for $250,000.
2.3
million. You may be 2.3
million.
2.3 million.
Yes, Gary, Bloodstock Agent Gary Young. We were out.
That's nothing for these people.
We went out to dinner with him the night before the horse sold, and he told us, "I'm not stopping till I get the horse. He's the most perfect horse." So we had a pretty good idea who was going to buy the horse the next day.
Wow. I don't think I've ever seen that on the forum before. A horse go off being sold for that much.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have.
Really?
Yeah.
Who?
I mean, listen, it is a lot of money. You don't see a lot of people spend it, but Baffert people spend it.
Wow.
They spend it. There are certain owners that spend it. Certain, look at Pletcher has them. Brown has them. Cox has them.
Yeah, I usually see like 3.
I mean,
I usually see three numbers.
The good news is this horse was purchased 3 weeks after Amr Zanen won the Dubai World Cup and ran second in the Saudi Cup. So he had some money to spend.
Some loose change sitting around.
Must be nice.
He spent it.
Okay, can we talk about Mage for a second?
Let's talk about the Derby winner.
Yeah, let me tell you something. I absolutely love this horse, and I was not a Mage fan, but I love the 5 in the Derby, and the fact that he bounced 2 weeks later in the Preakness means nothing to me. He had a bounce. There was no time off of the 5. Now he's got time. He was supposed to have a race in Saratoga before the Travers, but they opted for this spot, and I think they did the right thing. I think he can't lose. I really do. I love Major.
There's 2 major problems, John.
Only 2? Go ahead.
2 major problems. The first one is the Monmouth racetrack does not really play in Mage's favor. He's a come from behind horse. Monmouth is synonymous, been a speed friendly track. He's going to have to work really, really hard to beat the horses in front of him. And the camp, when we talk about Arabian Night and their desire to win this race, the only thing the camp cares about for Mage is the Haskell. I think he's a little bit
not
short.
The Haskell, the Travers.
The Travers. He's a little bit of a short horse. I know he won first time out. I know he runs well fresh, but he's only had 3 serious works going into this since the Preakness. It's a big ask to do. He's a nice horse. He's not the biggest horse in the world. I think he can run well. I can see him running 2nd, 3rd, or 4th. I don't think he's tight enough to beat a horse like Arabian Night. That's my only thought process. He might be a better horse overall, maybe, who knows? But I think on the day, I'll roll the dice with Arabian Night.
That's a nice matchup of, the strategy difference between Mage, the closer, and Arabian Night, who wants to go wire to wire.
Well, yeah, I think you have to look at things from a few things, right? Mage is looking at it from a championship standpoint. He's obviously among the contenders for 3-year-old horse of the year. From a stallion standpoint, they don't have a stud deal done yet. They're in deep negotiations with 3 different farms. A grade 1 over here winning the Haskell is good. Winning the Travers is better. Arabian Night, he needs a grade 1. He just has a grade 3 to his resume. So it's just kind of where they're at right now. Mage already has that grade 1. Arabian Nights seeking it. So just a little bit of a different dichotomy of what's going on. But this is a deep field, and it's not just a 2 deep race.
No,
Yeah,
the one has a shot, the Go Rocket Ride. I mean, this is another Mandela horse. Salute the Stars was great last time for Cox when he made a second start for him. If you remember that race at Monmouth, he was hopelessly beat. And he rallied and he got up in time. That's
so when you talk about Salute the Stars, John, that was your top pick that day when we previewed the Pegasus on this show a month ago. Where does his number sit? You liked the number in the off the turf race the time before. Was it the right forward move last time, despite all the trouble in the Pegasus?
Yeah, it was. He ran a 9, but now he would have to improve 4 more points to beat these horses. So I don't.
Is that too much of an ask?
Yeah, I think so. I do think so.
At least the good news is 11-9. I mean that's okay. I mean he could inch up a little bit closer.
He's 8-1 and he's Cox and he's 8-1.
Yeah,
anyone
headed in the right direction.
Anyone
he's already
that
won a Monmouth.
For him, I see it. I could see it. I mean, I'm using him underneath Mage, but I don't think he's ready to beat Mage.
So here's another horse with a $1.3 million sale. Tapatrice.
Yeah, that's it. That's a Pletcher.
There it is. There's another $1 million horse. Tapatrice. I know you were big on Tapatrice, Chad, in the Derby. He failed in the Derby. Didn't really do much in the Belmont, but sheet-wise, it was the best number of his career. Well, he finished third.
He was great in the Derby. In the Belmont, he ran a 5.
The sheets, yes. The result, not so much. So, but he ran the 5 behind Forte, and your pick, Arcangelo, Chad.
Look, I mean, he did disappoint in the Belmont. I mean, obviously, we felt a certain way about Arcangelo going into the race, but Tapatrice was training as well as anybody going into the race. And even though he was third, beating only a length and a half, it was a grinding third. It wasn't a pretty third. Doesn't give you a lot of confidence moving here. Again, just like Mage, I would have flipped him. I would have run Forte, and I understand why they did what they did, but I would have run Forte in the Haskell. His running style is more conducive to the racetrack. Tapatrice, again, just like Mage, going to be far out of it. I think it's just going to be too much for him to do. Unless they fly early, and you know, really what Mage and Tapatrice need to hope for is that Awesome Strong is back to the old Awesome Strong from last year before he broke his shin going into the Breeders' Cup. Because if Awesome Strong can't make the lead, Arabian Night's gone. Okay, and he's fit. He's got the bottom underneath him. They both Mage and Tapatrice need to hope that Jose Batista sends for all he's worth with Awesome Strong, because otherwise it might be good night, Irene.
Is George Delgado related to Gustavo Delgado?
They are not. No.
Oh, okay. I was hoping maybe.
The one Go Rocket Ride, the 9-2 shot, gets Mike Smith on board for the first time. A 10, a 9, and a 9, all at Santa Anita, John.
Yeah, I wasn't that impressed with his last race, even though he ran a 9 and he won by a length and a quarter or whatever, 3/4. He really had the most perfect setup. There was a speed duel in front of him, and the race fell right in his lap. It was a 5-horse field. I don't take much out of that, but it's a nice horse, and it's Mandela, so I would use him underneath.
I don't know.
What?
I mean, he comes out of these fields. I mean, he won last time. He won a
Chad, I'm telling you, he had the most perfect trip. It just set up for him. He had no choice but to win.
He won a 5-horse field over horses I've never heard of before.
Yeah.
I mean, he was good. I mean, I loved him when he broke his maiden. I thought he was fine when he ran second to Practical Move. I wasn't as impressed with him as some other people were, but I don't know.
Me neither.
I don't know what to make of him, to be honest with you.
And as far as the 7, the 5-1 shot, that's the last contender based on the line. Extra Anejo?
Chad, any chance of Extra Anejo trying for the lead or no shot?
Sure. I mean, look, Extra Anejo was proclaimed the Kentucky Derby winner when he
broke
his maiden first time out.
Yeah, when he first
he won first time out. He was the next great thing. He was the next gun runner. He was everybody's top pick. He unfortunately had a surgery. I think it was on a hind ankle, caused him to miss the Breeders' Cup, missed the early part of the Derby Trail. They kept hoping that he would be on the Derby Trail. They got him ready to run. He ran on Derby Day. I believe it was the first race of the day. And they thought he was an international good thing. They bet him that way. He went off at even money and wasn't able to run down. Really, not, at that time, federal judge for, I think, Rudolph Brissett was a well-meant horse that day. But he wasn't able to run him down. When he came back at Ellis, they wanted to give him a little bit of a confidence booster. They went over there to Ellis. They ran him a mile. They finally stretched him out a little bit, and he ran to expectations. So the horse he beat that day was Tall Boy. Tall Boy was a horse that was in Dubai for a little while. Disappointed. He's been all over the place. He came back and ran on the turf the other day.
Is that an O'Neill horse?
Yeah, he came back and ran on the turf. It was second beating the neck on the turf last weekend. Look, he's a horse that they've had high hopes for all along. For me, he's going to be my second pick. I'm going to make it Arabian Night over Extra Nejo. The barn itself, I think they're more confident in their horse running in the Jim Dandy. But Extra Nejo certainly had the mantle for a little while as far as the horse to beat. So can he continue to take that next step forward? I think absolutely. Scott Blasy's been out there with him all week. He's actually stable mates with the Arabian Night. They're actually in stalls right near each other. So they're able to kind of keep an eye on each other and look at their competition.
So they know each other, and they'll see each other in the starting gate right now.
I think it'll be a good race.
Looks like it. Can't wait. So let's go over the picks one more time. Chad, you're going 8 over 7. Mm-hmm. John, you're going 4 over
138.
138. And I'm actually going to roll the dice on the 7. I'm hoping. I think the 7 odds wise is going to be a bargain. Don't you think?
A bargain?
Well, as good as the horse could be, I think you might still get 5 or 6 to 1.
5 or 6 to 1 on a horse that went off 40 cents to $1 last time out. Not the worst idea in the world.
And race 11, Chad's going 5 over 8 again. So that's 5 over 8. That's limited liability as his top play. John's top play in race 11 is Catnip over 5, 7, 8. And I'm going 3. I'm, of course, sticking with Catnip. That's a sheet horse over 7. That's it. So next week we have another good one, don't we? We have actually a couple more good ones next week. Not as good as the Haskell.
Whole summer is good. You'll have good races every weekend.
We've got the Jim Dandy and the Alfred G. Vanderbilt and the Seagram Cup. Well, not the Seagram Cup. Those are 2 big races at Saratoga. We're not going to do the Monmouth Oaks. Enough of Monmouth this week. But the Bing Crosby. The Grade 1 Bing Crosby and the San Diego Handicapper in Del Mar next week. So we might do a race from each. Is that possible?
Why not?
We'll have to take a look at the races, and who knows? Maybe
as long as they're not 5-horse fields.
Yeah, it's a fact. And we haven't done a bonus race in a while, so maybe that might come into play. By the way, anybody to keep an eye on at Ascot this week in that race, Chad?
I don't know.
No? I guess that's a no.
That's I've had a long day. Good night, everybody. That's Chad said.
No. All right, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Stay safe, be well. We'll talk soon. Chad, I'll see you in the morning.
You got it.
Thank you.